Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video that looks very intriguing. It's called Secrets of the Euro. So I don't really know much. I know obviously it's the coin that, the type of coin, yeah, the type of money that people use in Europe. But besides that, I have no idea. I don't know the history. I don't know anything beyond that. And I know it's like a little bit more expensive than dollars. I don't know. But I'm excited. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
Prior to 2002, most European countries had their own independent currencies.
Yeah.
France had the French franc, Italy had the Italian lira, and Finland had the Finnish marker, to name just a few.
Oh, I never
It made trade and travel a lot more complicated, as you needed to change your money for each different country, often incurring exchange rates, commissions, and fees. What's more, there was often vast disparity between the values of each currency.
Oh my god, okay.
Whilst the Italian lira banknote stretched all the way up to 500,000, the highest denomination French franc was only 500.
Okay,
so if you were visiting one from the other, it would be very difficult to gauge how much you were actually spending. In practice, it was a nightmare. The case for a shared common currency was therefore an obvious one, and it was an idea that had been talked about and was being worked towards for decades. Without getting into the precise history, the euro as we know it was first introduced for non-cash transactions on New Year's Day 1999, and then the first banknotes and coins on New Year's Day 2002. The only countries that did not adopt the currency were Denmark and the United Kingdom, although there are several other EU countries who don't yet meet the economic criteria, but will make the change once they do. And since those first banknotes were launched in 2002, they've just finished releasing
I have to say, I have to make a pause and say that it's crazy to me to like listen to all the story and the history and see, you know, obviously like each, I know that, you know, historically like each country had their own like their own currency. But it's crazy to think of that, because in my brain and in my mind, it's always been like, I can't imagine Europe with everyone like using a different sort of like a different currency. To me, it's like, I don't know, it's like a universal thing. Everyone uses a euro over there. Oh, no, not everyone, but most countries use a euro. So it's crazy to think of a world where that wasn't the case. It's like, what do you mean? And it was like semi-recently. So it's crazy like how widespread the use of euro has been.
A new and updated series, which this video is going to take a look at. Now, I'm not going to get into any of the pros and cons of the currency, or any of the economic arguments or considerations.
Okay, good.
Instead, I'm going to approach the euro purely as a banknote collector, as someone who likes shiny and colourful objects with a cool story, not as a critic of the currency itself.
I like it, yeah.
If you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. Now normally I'd go through and talk about each banknote individually, but with the euro it makes much more sense to talk about them collectively. These new notes are known as the Europa series, and they are very much a series, with each denomination just a slight variant on the overall design. Like the previous series, the notes have retained their size, colour, and the theme of European architecture. The front of each denomination displays a window or doorway to represent openness and cooperation, whilst the reverse depicts a bridge, symbolising communication. The €5 sees a classical architecture style, the 10 Romanesque, the 20 Gothic, the 50 Renaissance, the 100 Baroque, and the 200 a 19th century iron and glass theme. The old 500 note had the theme of modern 20th century architecture, although has been discontinued and is slowly being removed from circulation.
Why?
Importantly though, none of the specific doorways, windows or bridges shown are real. They're fictional designs, intended to represent each of the original members but without unfairly representing one more than the other.
Exactly, because I was thinking it's gonna be a little bit, because I can imagine maybe some countries are gonna be upset because we're not being represented, and maybe you're thinking, oh, but we have a similar bridge, and it's like, and I like to put like, I don't know, like the Eiffel Tower or maybe like the Colosseum, like very famous landmarks. I can see why other countries would look down upon that and be like, hey, you know, that's not nice. It's like, yeah, I like that it's uniform and it looks sort of like things that you like can think of, like a few monuments that they resemble, but they're like, but not as specifically those. Like it's just like a model, which I like, because again, everyone's happy with it.
Also, like the previous series, the reverse of each note features a map of Europe, although this time including Malta and Cyprus, who have both since joined the Eurozone, as well as a tiny section right in the bottom left to show the Canary Islands and some of France's territories. But that's about it for the similarities. So what exactly has changed? Well, the denomination in the bottom left has been replaced by one in green colour changing ink, making it difficult to replicate. And on the 100 and
because of
200
dates.
notes, it even contains tiny euro symbols.
Yeah, like 20 euros.
There's also a larger holographic strip on the right, this time containing an image of Europa, a figure from Greek mythology after whom the continent was named. Europa can also be seen in the watermark of each note, alongside the denomination and piece of architecture, although
Okay, yeah,
admittedly
that's
it does
pretty
kind of
big,
resemble a
big.
kid's drawing. In terms of other security features, both series are fairly similar. Obviously, they all feature the Orion constellation, a group of 5 circles or donuts which can be detected by printers
Donuts.
and computer software in order to prevent
Okay.
photocopying. This feature was
okay, I had no
included on
idea.
banknotes in secret for many years, until a member of the public first detected it on a 10 euro note, hence the
Oh,
name
that's
and
bad.
the fact that it sort of doesn't really resemble Orion. Under
That's
UV
bad.
light, certain
You weren't
elements
supposed
of
to
the
find
notes
it.
glow to indicate their authenticity, including the stars in the flag and the stars around the architecture, as well as certain sections of the reverse.
There's so many
Tiny glowing
stars.
flecks are also visible, something they purposely add into the paper, again to show their
That's so
authenticity.
pretty.
But the new notes have added
Are they
another
random?
really cool security feature in the form of these short diagonal lines on the edges of each note. If you fold the notes round
I've
to
seen
form
them.
a circle, they perfectly line up,
They match,
indicating
yeah.
that the note is likely genuine, as counterfeiters can have difficulty
Likely.
being so precise with their printing.
Okay,
And these
you say
notes
so.
have introduced some microprint too, seen in the stars in the middle of the note. If you look extremely closely, you'll see the
Oh my God,
word
there's
euro
things on it.
repeating in 3 different alphabets. Again, something that counterfeiters cannot achieve with inexpensive printers.
Oh my
And what
God.
is probably my favourite hidden feature? Each note is secretly a flag of Europe in disguise. How cool is that?
Oh my
However,
god,
having
that's
said
incredible.
all that, you'd be right to accuse these notes of being boring.
No, they aren't.
They're deliberately plain and devoid of any personality.
But I like
Europe
them.
is an
What do you mean they're no
exceptionally diverse
personality?
continent with the finest architecture on the planet, and yet they've opted for fictional designs. But I do
Yeah.
understand it. These banknotes are used by an ever-increasing number of countries, and they can't
Yeah,
be
it's a
seen to
lot.
favour certain ones.
Exactly.
And where the banknotes fall short, the coins certainly deliver.
Oh my god.
The euro
I'm so
coins
confused
are
by
arguably the
coins.
coolest and most collectible in the world.
Okay.
Each country has their own designs, and they can therefore be much more personal.
Oh, because €1
The
is the
Colosseum
coin.
features on the Italian 5 cents, for example, and the Brandenburg Gate on the German 10. And even some countries that aren't EU members have their own coins, such as San Marino and Vatican City.
But they're in
In
circulation.
total, there are more than 300 different designs across the different values and countries, making them an
Okay.
absolute dream for collectors. They most certainly make up for the lack of variation on the banknotes.
That's crazy.
But if that's still not enough, there are some euro banknotes that are decidedly more interesting.
A
This
zero?
is a €0,
What
a
on earth is
souvenir
that?
note printed on real banknote paper, with real security features and authorised by the European Central
It's
Bank.
worthless.
It has a watermark, glows under UV light, and feels and looks exactly as you'd
Okay,
expect
but
a
what
real
do I do
euro
with it?
to. And whilst this one features the atomium in Brussels, like the coins, there are literally hundreds of different designs. So whilst the
Again, what do I do
euros
with this?
themselves might be slightly dull, that's necessary. They're the second most traded currency in the world and represent such a vast population area. And though they might have sacrificed some infinitely more interesting notes in the process, we got some
Yeah, but
pretty
it was
cool
worth
coins
it.
out of it. And the euro
Yeah.
has undoubtedly made life a lot easier.
Yeah, like the practicality. Like, what do you think of that? Okay, it's kind of crazy. There's like so many things I didn't really know about this, and now I think he kept saying like, oh, they're plain. I don't really think they're plain. I like them. They're like colorful. If anything, I would venture to say, again, just speaking like just for aesthetic purposes, I would think the dollar, again, it is probably like the most known currency. No, maybe the yen is actually the most like traded currency. It's probably the yen or the US dollar. I don't really know. But the US dollar, I don't really know how yens look like, but I know that, US dollars are kind of plain looking. Like they're just gray. They're all, they figure like changes, the historical figure changes. So it's like a precedent. But they're like, you see a dollar and instead of like, I don't know, it's a bit lackluster. Like it's just gray and a little bit plain. And I know obviously there's like so many details that I can't even like, I have to admit, I've never actually thought of like what sort of figures and what kind of like little details, like the currency has. But again, it's more like, I don't know, it looks a little boring. And compared to the euro, like, everything has like a different color, which I love because I think it's easily like recognizable. Because again, if you have something like the dollar, where everything's sort of like black and white, everything's gray, it is a little bit harder just, by like looking at like all of them. It's like, it's a bit like, well, how do I recognize it like easily? You have to actually like look at the number, or just, you recognize, the one with George Washington is like this. You have to, I think it takes a little bit more of, effort. But with this one, it's like, oh, the green one, it's like, it's 100, and you see the 5-1 and it's yellow. So I like that it's colorful, and I prefer that. I prefer it. I don't know if everyone's like that, but I prefer the colorfulness. And again, it makes it adds a little bit of character, and it's like, it's prettier, I think. But besides that, they're like, oh, it's plain. Like maybe people were complaining because they had their own currencies like to compare it with, and maybe they were thinking, no, our previous currencies, again, just for aesthetic purposes, maybe they were thinking. And so it was a little bit more, it probably had more character, because I'm guessing they were, again, like historical figures, probably like landmarks and stuff like that, or stuff that are very like cultural or belonging to the history of that country. So I can see why people maybe were, compared to that, you're thinking, oh, but this one's plain. Because I think that the whole idea of like this, the landmarks, that they're the figures, the prominent figures that each like currency has, it's, it doesn't exist. It's fake. It's not fake. It's just like, it's based on something that exists, on, the different types of architecture, but they're not actually something that, I can go visit. Like, again, the Colosseum. I can't go, it's like, oh, it's a Colosseum, and I can see, I have my bill of like $20 euro bill, and it's Colosseum, and it's pretty. No, it's not like that. So I can see like why some people would be a little bit let down by it all, especially if they had something to compare it with. But I like the fact that it's like it's uniform. And like they said, I do really understand the logic behind it all, because I can't even imagine, like, again, the euro, I think, represents the whole like unity, like the whole European Union. And it shows like, not, like yes, this sort of like, we're all in this together. It's a union. Like no one is over, like, represented over others. We're all equal. So of course, I can see why, if you put something that's very recognizable, people are gonna be like, wow, my country doesn't really have, because again, you can't have, I don't know how many countries use the euro, but there's a lot of them. So it's not like there's not enough space in the bills to actually represent, like, oh, let's put, like, I don't know, the national animal of like this country. Let's put like an eagle for Germany, and then the other maybe it's gonna have, I don't know, a baguette. Obviously, they're not gonna put a baguette, but it's sort of like that. So it would be a nightmare, obviously, and it would be like this weird thing of this weird cacophony of like a different mix. So I do like that. It's sort of like, it's what it represents. I think it's more like that. It's like, see what the bills and actually like the euro represents, instead of an actual like landmark or historical figure. And that's just with landmarks, because I can't even begin to imagine, like, the disaster would be like, oh, let's put people on it, like historical people, famous people, because every country is gonna be like, whoa, no, how come, like, you guys didn't make a bill with like whoever like face, it was like the most famous, scientist, president, whatever, in our country. Like, people are gonna be so upset, because again, when it comes to historical figures, like, oh my god, the controversy is gonna be like enormous. And that's just that. So again, it's like they went with landmarks, which I think, landmarks, or like more architectural sort of like styles, which again I like. And it's just like, it's a representation, you don't see it as something that actually like exists. Just see it as something that, it represents the Gothic style that is very popular in Europe. It represents, the gates that are very common here, the bridges that are also very common here. These are like different types of architecture, which also like show, both like the history of Europe, and also, what kind of like things you can find. And, it's the history actually, because again, indirectly and directly, it's sort of like, again, if it's not an actual, like, I cannot tell you like, oh, this is the exact same place. But it's a style that you're gonna be seeing like represented in a lot of like, in a lot of like the architecture and landmarks that you're gonna be seeing here. So I definitely do like that. I do have to say that, I don't know if it was the sort of like, I don't know, the clip or something, that I think it gave me the impression that the five, it goes like the 5 bill is actually like smaller than the 200 one. Again, I don't know if it was just like a thing about, I don't know, the clip itself, or in real life, dude, like the 200 like bill is still like bigger than the 5 one. I get it why they do that. Of course, the one that has like it's more money. Technically, it's it's more money. It's gonna be bigger, so maybe that's why they do it. But I don't know if I like that actually. If that's the case, it's like I think I would prefer just everything a bit like uniform, because again, you already have the colors, so it's gonna be like, oh, it's a 10, it's a 20, it's a 50. I have to also mention, like, it's a little bit crazy to think of like the others that obviously each country has its own currency. So it was crazy that some of them went to like, I think it was like 2,000, 5,000 or something. And then you have to like switch to like, no, the expensive one is like the 200 one. It's like, okay, I would think maybe again, so that's really weird to me. I don't really know how countries like actually decide that. I think maybe, I don't know how they do it. I think probably the economy decides that. I have no idea how the, country actually goes like, oh yeah, we're gonna go up to like 100. I think usually it goes to 100. Also, some of them go to 500, a bill of like a 500. I think that's a little bit maybe more uncommon, but not really. I don't know. It's quite interesting to me. I don't really know how they decide the whole, which is gonna be the expensive one and which is gonna be the lowest. I was surprised by the fact that the €5 one was the lowest, because I would think, don't you need one? But then it was like, oh, the coins. Okay, so they use a lot of coins. Coins are like worthless, I think, sometimes. Maybe that's just me. I don't really use a lot of cash. So when I have like the actual cash, I'm like, oh my God, this is very confusing to me. Especially like the coins that you have to like count them. And it's like pennies. Usually it's just like pennies or cents. So it's like, well, how, you have to actually count the pennies and the cents. So it's like, how much is this actually like, is it going to allow me to like pay for something? But it's like, apparently here, if it's just like €1, of course, they have like the cents and stuff, but the one, which I think it's more like, it's the kind of like the standard, like I think almost every currency has just like a 1. So it is like, yes, they do have a 1, but it's a coin, which I find like, oh, that's really interesting to me. Well, how come they didn't make it like a 1? It's because people maybe in Europe use more coins, and again, to be in the lowest, that would be like the natural sort of like a choice. But I would actually like to know, what do you actually, can you buy stuff with just like €1? I don't know what costs €1. Actually, I have no idea. Can you buy a cup of coffee with a euro? So you just like, I'm going to give you a coin and that's it? I don't know, we'd love to know like what can you buy with just like a euro, like just €1 as in a coin? And what kind of things you can buy with like a €5 thing? You can buy for like, I don't know, a bus ticket. I know it's kind of weird to me because again, seeing it like this, it's like everyone uses a card these days. Like no one has actual cash in their hands. So it's a little bit like, and I know it's silly. It's like, it's the same amount of money. But again, it's like, I don't know, I see those bills and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a little bit intimidated. Although I know it's all in your head because obviously it's very silly. It's the same amount if it's digital. But the fact that you're seeing them physically, I think like it messes with my head. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I don't know. But I do find it very interesting, like the coin situation, and that's where they have a little bit more personality. I was a little bit confused about the whole like, oh, like the Italy like has their own coins and each country has its own coins. Is it all like a collector's item, or are those in circulation? Can I have like a coin that I don't really know? Is it like a €1, €2? I don't know. My hypothetical €2 coin that it's from Italy and it was made in Italy and it's a Italian euro. I don't really know how to call it. Can I go to, I don't know, Portugal and like, is that's allowed? They're not going to be like, oh no, we don't take that money here. Like, we just like, we take the bills. We don't really take those coins because they're Italian coins. Or is it like, because it's all centralized, they don't really care and you can just like switch and you can have like different types of coin? Maybe, in Portugal, it's the same as if you were using it in Poland. Is it the same? I would definitely love to know because I was a little bit confused by that part. Now, if that's the case, I think it's crazy that it's like, okay, so I can just have like, at one particular moment in time, I can have like a bunch of coins from a bunch of different countries. And again, it's all because it's all sort of like unionized, so you kind of like, it's all uniform. So it's like a €2 coin. It doesn't really matter if it was made like in Germany or in Austria. Like it's still the same, like €2. But do they have like the little different things? Like maybe it's a euro from Switzerland. I don't know actually if Switzerland uses euros. Come to think about it, don't they use like, aren't those one of the only ones that uses another currency? So whatever, any other country, Portugal again, like maybe you have like the little like €2 coin that was, you know, in Portugal, and also I have, you know, a €1 that was made in Spain, and I can use those coins in Poland. Maybe, I don't know that, but if that's the case, very interesting. But I would also like to know the logistic behind this, and also, you know, what kind of like what made them like just like the coins. Everyone goes wild. You can just, you know, each country can be very nationalistic and patriotic and put like whatever figure you want in your coin. It's gonna be the same. I don't know, and we can use it, and it's maybe like maybe for collectors are gonna be like very interested in. Oh, I've collected all €1 or €1 coin from, you know, the 15 countries that actually produced them, and one has, I don't know, the Colosseum, and the other has, I don't know, the Brandenburg Gate. You know, I don't know, different kind of things. So I would love to know. One has Napoleon. I don't know, different kind of things. I think for collectors, I think would be very interesting. But maybe I'm totally wrong and I understood it incorrectly. And no, it isn't like that. Like the coins are just like the ones that we're seeing. Those are the ones in circulation. And it's not like they have so many different types of coin. And to end this, the atom one, that I didn't really understand what's the purpose of that bill. Is it like a thing that's in a museum and it was designed, you know, for like the 200th anniversary of something specifically, or what on earth is that? Because it was zero. So it's like, what do you want me to do with this? It's like, what? I can get it to the bank and like cash this? No, of course not. It's a zero. So again, maybe it was something that they did to commemorate something, and I don't have any idea actually how and why you would want that. Like, obviously it's collectors, but how would I go around if I want to buy this? And how much does it cost? Because it says zero, but obviously it costs money. So how much does this thing cost actually? You know, and do I have to go to the bank, or can I get it? Or they were like limited amount of like, no, we only made like 50. And again, it's like a very precious item that sells for like thousands of euros because it's something very important that we only made like 100 of them. We'd love to know the history behind it all. And actually, who has it? I don't know. It's more a collector's item. I don't think that you're going around and being like, hey, I'm gonna pay for my meal with this. It's zero. Hopefully this covers it. It's like, no, absolutely not. But I loved it. This is very interesting. I love all the colorful bills, and I prefer them because they're colorful and I think they're prettier. As simple as that. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!